From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
Good afternoon and thanks for joining us on the Noon News. I'm Diane Parker. Miller has our forecast plus a violent situation in Billings, all caught on camera. But first, our top story. A warning from the Flathead County Sheriff's Office about a deadly drug combination showing up in northwest Montana. It's called Trank Dope or Trank, and it's a combination of fentanyl and the animal tranquilizer xylazine, which is a strong drug used in veterinary medicine that when mixed with other opioids can cause severe soft tissue wounds and central nervous system depression. Users are often called zombie addicts because the drugs can cause severe skin ulcers that may lead to amputations. The Flathead County Sheriff says Narcan does not work to counter the effects of xylazine.
Starting to see this, we're seeing some testing coming back with this xylazine in it, and we want to make the community aware that this is a dangerous drug. And again, I implore people to understand that we've often had drug issues in our community, but this is one of the most dangerous ones I've seen, and that it will kill family members and loved ones.
The sheriff is asking parents to remind their children about the dangers of street drugs. This video we're about to show you is only the beginning of a violent outburst caught on camera in Billings. Eventually, shots were fired. This woman arrested and taken to jail. MTN's Charlie Kleps has all the details.
It was in this Billings neighborhood when an argument turned violent on Sunday. Multiple shots were fired. No one was injured, but many were rattled.
It's public road! It's public road!
James Kelly never figured his Sunday afternoon would turn into terror.
This is something no one should ever have to go through.
Kelly and two friends say they were working on a car in front of a neighbor's house when the argument first broke out.
I parked over right here in front of this camper because his whole block was already covered with cars, and she shows up like a bat out of hell and started yelling at us.
That yelling continued from both sides, but eventually the altercation became physical.
She went back over to her house, got up on the porch, said something else, came back down, grabbed decorative wood out of her yard, and just started beating her dad's car up with it.
You're gonna pay for all of it!
This shocking video shows the massive destruction caused to the vehicle, an alarming sight that then became even scarier.
We heard gunshots in the backyard, so I had my friend James call the cops.
Being shot at or being near shots fired is a very scary experience.
According to the group of friends, the suspect shot multiple times in different directions near the area of Ponderosa School. BPD say they arrested 43-year-old Jessica Schneider on 2 felony counts of criminal endangerment. She was still listed on the jail roster as of Monday afternoon.
I never thought I would have had gone through that, but Billings is getting dangerous day by day.
It's the latest example of an alarming rise in weapons offenses over the last 2 years, according to BPD's 2022 annual report. All of the people involved in this instance were unharmed, but all fear what their city has turned into.
I think the scariest part for me was after the officer showed up with all their guns. I thought she was going to start shooting at them, because I was like, is this really what it comes down to?
Billings is supposed to be a welcoming community, and because of that one incident, I don't feel that.
In Billings, Charlie Kleps, MTN News.
A growing number of Americans are being kicked out of their homes as eviction rates are on the rise. MTN's Jackie Coffin reports on the numbers here in Montana.
Eviction rates are as high as they've been in years, and in Montana, a person can be evicted in as little as 3 days. That's the type of eviction notice Shelley Cooper got 2 weeks ago. I met her as she was leaving her home.
Just walk it back up in here.
On June 5th, Shelley Cooper had to leave her home of 14 years in the Cherry Creek Mobile Home Park under a 72-hour eviction notice.
Well, I lost my dad to COVID and got behind 2 months.
Cooper got behind on 2 months' rent, one of the criteria under Montana law that can be met with a 3-day eviction notice and court summons. The inability to pay rent is driving evictions around the country.
The number of individuals experiencing housing insecurity is probably much, much higher than we're actually seeing.
Getting a real picture of evictions in Montana is difficult, says Eviction Lab researcher Adam Chapnick, due to a lack of data and what Chapnick calls hidden evictions.
Probably also a lot of the evictions are happening outside of the court because it's just easier.
But some Montana landlords like Stephen Galloway of Great Falls say eviction isn't taken lightly from their end.
I love my tenants. I get a bad one once in a while. We all do. And sometimes it's not even their fault. So sad I still have to evict you because you either got to pay your rent or you don't.
Cooper says navigating the court proceedings around her eviction was a difficult process.
I showed up. They did not. They decided to continue it. They would send me a letter in the mail. I did not get the letter until after the fact.
Checking in with her Monday, 2 weeks after her eviction, Cooper told me she has been bouncing between motels and looking at potential rentals, but her permanent housing option is gone.
I'm a good person. I'm a hard worker. I'm a disabled veteran, 100%. And I'm getting removed from my home. So.
A national problem all too real for Montana renters. In Billings, Jackie Coffin, MTN News.
Now we go to Hysham, where Molson Coors is doing its part to help the community manage its ongoing water crisis. Take a look at this. The beer company donated an entire pallet of water. Hysham's water treatment failed months ago, and residents remain under a do not consume order. As town leaders find a solution, donations of bottled water are flowing in from neighboring communities. A rock slide in the Helena Lewis and Clark National Forest has Forest Service Road 299 east of Rimini closed. It was recently closed, and we are looking at photos from the Helena Lewis and Clark National Forest of the large rocks obstructing the road, which will stay closed until they can be moved. Now, the closure is just over a mile long. It's also a reminder to check for closures or hazards before you head out and about in Montana. And that's a look at some of the day's top stories.
Your local forecast coming up here in just a bit. What's going on across the nation today with the Great Plains, the lower Mississippi Valley, southeastern states and the mid-Atlantic states. Excessive rainfall and severe weather likely today. Texas, it is brutal. When I say brutal, it is bad with the heat wave. Record-breaking heat continuing today. And we got a tropical storm. Brett has formed over the central tropical Atlantic, expected to strengthen over the next couple of days as it heads toward the Lesser Antilles. If you have friends down in the Gulf or around Florida, definitely something you want to keep an eye on over the next several days as we anticipate it's going to get stronger. Big story for us across the state today. Going to see some cooler temperatures, a chance for rain, a chance for wicked weather. But where? I'll let you know coming up.